Today I'm going to be showing you the process I went through sorting, swatching, and storing almost 200 bottles of gel nail polish. I still feel like that's an obscene amount, but compared to some other people on here, it's nothing, so. But either way, I love having a good system to store and keep track of all my different gel bottles, and I thought it'd be a fun video, so here we are. So just a little roadmap. If you want to skip around, I'll also add chapters in the little video bar below. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about my current system and what I want to change, and then we'll go through and sort and swatch everything and put it in my swatch book, which I'll show you in a second, and then I'll show off the finished result. But with that, let's get started. So like I mentioned, I have a system I've been using for a while, and mostly it's more of a fine-tuning than like a system overhaul kind of moment. For one, there are a few things I just totally want to change, and then also just haven't really gone and done a good reorganization since like moving and just like using it a lot, and it's gotten messed up, you know how it is. So for storing the actual gel bottles, and this I will continue to do, I have these little plastic containers here. By the way, I will pop links in the description for everything I show you in case you want to get your own. I really like this. Each bottle can kind of go in its own little slot here. They're like the perfect size, pretty much any. Like this is a bigger bottle and it fits perfectly easily. And they're stored upright. It's also super portable. It's got this fun little handle. These stay pretty well. They don't open very easily. So when I was at school and I was kind of moving every semester or two, it was very handy to have. And they're definitely not like the most compact. Like if you had like a drawer or something, you could probably like have your collection take up less space, which has its perks, but this worked really well for me and I think I will continue to use these. The other great thing is that I've made it really easy to find the gel that I'm looking for. So this one doesn't have it because it's like an overflow, but you'll see on the other ones I have these little number stickers on each one, and then the numbers on that correspond to the numbers I have in my swatch book, which you'll also see in a minute. But it's super easy to go to the swatch book, pick out a color, and I mean for me, or also like a lot of times I'll let my friends use my gels and they have no idea what I have. So they'll be able to go to the swatch book and be like, ooh, I like that color. Okay, it's number 57, and then go to the bins and find number 57. Because the one thing about gel in particular, like some of them have little indicators, like this one has a little thing that says it's white on it, but a lot of them don't. So right now they are organized alphabetically by brand first, and then within that split into sections for like cremes and glitters and then like other like special types of polishes, and then within those categories sorted by color, so like rainbow order. And that worked well, I think, when I had slightly fewer polishes, because I could keep track really well, like, oh, like I want this sort of polish, and I kind of know off the top of my head, like this brand has one like that, and then I can just sort of go find it easily alphabetical and then pick it out of the bin. But it's getting to the point where I think it actually would be more helpful to have it totally in color order, or maybe like color order of cremes and then color order of glitters, color order of like everything else, something like that, because I just have more bottles to keep track of and I can't pull it off the top of my head as easily anymore. I know, what a terrible problem to have. Plus also I think it'll just make for a prettier looking swatch book, which of course is the priority. So that is the plan for now. And I guess it's worth mentioning that's actually one of the things I really like about this system, is it's very like easy to change things. It doesn't get messed up if I like add a gel or remove a gel or completely redo the system. It's a little bit tedious if like one thing changes and then you have to like shift everything over, but it's better than having to like redo everything every time. And with that, I think we will get started. So now we're gonna go in with the classic organization tactic of making a bigger mess in order to clean up. So as you can see, I'm gonna gracefully sit on the floor here and take everything out of these containers and sort them by color. Like I mentioned, up to this point I've had them sorted by brand, so the order is gonna completely change from what it's been. I'm starting with just the normal creme finishes, so like not glitters or anything fancy like that, just since I have the most of those, and I'm just putting them in groups on the floor. But once I go to swatch them, I'm gonna put them all in a pretty gradient, so like burgundy to red to coral to orange and yellow and so on. And I will for sure end up like recategorizing some of them that are kind of in between. Like there are some that are like, is it purple or burgundy or brown or pink or who knows? But this is just the first pass to get started. I'm speaking in the present tense, but secretly I recorded this voiceover after doing all of this, and I'm gonna tell you right now there's a huge theme of me changing my mind in this video, for I am not only a perfectionist, but an indecisive perfectionist. So, you've been warned. You'll see I'm starting to make other categories of the different finishes for each color category, so like I've got groups for glitters and thermals and magnetic gels, and I'm leaving a couple like oddball groups out for now, which are the watercolors and multichromes. You'll see those later. And you'll also see that I actually decided to group these in with the cremes, just completely color ordered. So again, this is just constantly changing our minds club. Also, just a side note, I know I'm probably embarrassing myself by keeping in those clips of me just absolutely struggling to open some of these, but in my defense, I am bad about cleaning the gel off the sides of the bottleneck. You will see that later. The bottles literally will get gelled shut. And yes, I'm being a little dramatic, but also I got a whole blister on the inside of my hand from doing this. Maybe I'm making it more embarrassing, but never mind, let's move on. Anyways, now that we have them broken down into those smaller groups, I'm gonna come in here and start the swatches. So these little guys come with the swatch book that I have, and it's really easy to do a bunch of swatches like all at once and pop them in the book like you'll see me doing here. I'm not gonna show like every single one, I did film them all, but this video is gonna be long enough. But I'll show some of the first few and kind of go over my whole strategy here. It's quite the process, as you'll see, but also fair warning, I'll play some fun music too, but I'm gonna be rambling over all of this, so if you just want to watch and don't want to listen to my voice, I won't be offended. You can mute the video and put on your own music or something. It's mostly evident what I'm doing from the footage, but you get it. Oh, I guess one last thing is, since there is a lot going on with this and it's going fast, I won't be like properly labeling all of these gels as I'm showing them, but I do want to go through and do like real nail swatches of all of these. So if you want to check that out, those are actually going to be going up on my Instagram and my shiny new TikTok. So casual plug for those. If you want to follow me on either of those, I'm just at Red Nails Never Fail on both platforms, or I'll definitely put the links in the description of this video so you can check those out there. But anyways, as you can see, I'm starting here with the cremes. We're going in with some of the pinks, and now we're moving on to some of those darker burgundies. I've tried to order them like light to dark, and in this case dark to light, as best as I can, just from like looking at them in the bottle, but I'm sure you can already tell some of them will definitely need to go in a different order, or some might even need to be switched over to a different color category, which I'll kind of do as I go. I'll try and show some of that, but some like semantics of how I'm doing this. So I'm doing at least 3 coats of each polish, and then more if it still looks like not completely opaque. For some that are meant to be sheer, like there were a couple on that are kind of meant to be a little more sheer, I'm just sort of going until they don't look streaky at all. You'll also see I have some like special ones, like special effects ones, like there are some watercolors that need a white base, and there's some magnetic gels that need a black base. I don't think any of those have come up yet, but when you see that, that's what those are for. And then as you'll see, of course, I put a top coat on everything. I used a no wipe gel top coat from Beetles. It's a good one. It's nice and thick and shiny, so I think it'll work well for this. Also, very much a side note, in case you're wondering, this took a long time, but I also enjoyed it so much. I didn't do it all in one sitting because I have like back problems, so I can't sit hunched over something for that long, basically. But it sort of became my little like take an hour every day or so to work on some swatches, and overall I probably did this over the course of a couple weeks. You will see my nails grow out, which is kind of funny, but it was nice. It's like a soothing thing to do, you know, it's kind of repetitive, but also like, I keep saying like, ooh, pretty colors, but like, ooh, pretty colors, you know. We're moving on to the reds, of course, so you're gonna see like 5 where you're like, that's literally the same exact color. And I'm like, yes, correct, it is. Actually, on that note, now I'm just like fully rambling over this, but I keep joking to my friends like I'm finally having some character development because I've been like trying to branch out from the red a little bit. You know, I've always had like red hair, and I've always worn a lot of red, and decorations and stuff that are red, and obviously, you know, my nails are usually some sort of red. But you know, I've always loved red, but I've also always loved like jewel tones and like purples and like turquoises and stuff like that. So I've been branching out a little bit, and I don't have very many yet because it's a little hard to justify buying more nail polish, and I probably will just sort of at least wait until some of these that I have run out before I really do. But I've been trying to incorporate more colors. But back to the topic at hand, I haven't really talked about yet what my final order ended up being. But first things first, what you're seeing now is how I mentioned at some point I decided it would look better just to put the glitters and like the special effects polishes in with the others. So you'll see me go back and add those in just about now. For some of those it was really hard to place, I should mention. Like, for example, I have a polish that's red glitter in a purple base, and I have some magnetic duochrome polishes that are one color if you look at them from one angle and another color if you look at them from another angle. And the whole point of thermal polishes is to be different colors. They're like heat sensitive, so if they're cold they'll be one color, if they're hot they'll be a completely different color. So for all of those I just sort of had to kind of put it where it made most sense visually. And of course, I should say, for those and even some of the cremes, I will be upfront that my human perspective of color might vary from your human perspective of color. So this is not an exact science, this is not an objective order, this is just me messing with it for a really long time, eventually having to stop. Don't want to start any nail polish controversies, but you're welcome to disagree with my final order, of course. I'm just showing a couple more of these swatches, by the way, and then we are gonna actually get into the swatch book part of it. I was doing it like at the same time. I would finish a thing of swatches and then put them in the book in like a preliminary order. I'm not going to show you all of that footage as well because, again, this video does not need to be an hour long, but just know there was plenty back and forth, but I'm going to streamline me putting them all in order in just a moment here once I finish this round of swatches. Also, just one last thing that was fun about this is I kind of like really got to see my whole collection and rediscover polishes that I almost never use. Like some of those dark red glitters I almost never use, but they're so pretty. And now I'm like, oh, I know I have them. I will use them more often. So that's like a fun little side effect of this. And I guess the whole point of a swatch book is to be able to see what you have. You know how like people who have a lot of clothes, you're supposed to like hang them so you know what you have and can see them instead of like shoving them in a drawer where you're just gonna forget about them. But there's some philosophy there or something. By the same coin, of course, I did also maybe notice a few that I was using that I never use and I'm not super inclined to use, so maybe that means it's time to see if one of my friends wants it or something, because I think I might have enough nail polish as it is. Just, you know, gonna put that out there. So we can do a little editing. Marie Kondo, does it spark joy? Most of these do spark joy, but we'll leave it at that. So again, like I said, this is certainly not all of the swatches because it's getting a little repetitive, but at this point we're gonna jump ahead to where I have everything swatched and I'm just trying to figure out the order. Now we're actually moving on to putting them into the swatch book. I did some of this sort of as I was going, but I went back and forth on it so many times, so I'm just gonna cut a lot of it out and streamline what I am gonna put in so you can sort of see the order that they ended up in. As you're seeing right now, I do change them up a lot, but it was an ongoing thing. But anyways, the final order. So like I talked about, at first I was thinking like big color categories, so like pink and burgundy and red, and then within those alternating going light to dark and dark to light, so it would be like a gradient that way. So starting with light pink and then dark pink and then dark burgundy to pick up off of that, and then light burgundy to fade into red. But I decided, especially for like the bigger categories like red, I know I'm saying like a lot of these are practically the exact same color, which is true, but also there are some variations. So like some reds are more on the berry side and some of them are more on the orange side. So what I'm saying is I broke them down a bit by tone. So for example, I went from like more pinky purple cooler burgundies to what I am calling like true burgundies, which aren't super cool, aren't super warm, and then into the dark red warmer burgundies. So from there into the reds, and so on and so forth. And then each of those smaller categories were kind of sorted from dark to light or light to dark, really depending on what made the most sense visually. I guess I can also use the example you're seeing right now. So like you can see there's the purples, and then it goes into the sort of like grayer, like almost like lilac-y gray purples. Some of these look a little different on screen than they do in real life, I will point out as well. I'm looking at it on my view here now and I'm like, that looks wrong, but I know it looked right in person, so bear with me on that. But then it sort of goes into those dark grays, and then transitions sort of into like gray browns, and then into like true browns, and then we go into the warmer browns, and then they fade out dark into the blacks, and so on and so forth. Also, just to be clear, I'm very well aware that I'm inventing a square wheel here. Like, this probably only makes sense to me and has no other application outside of this very specific thing I'm doing, but honestly, I had a lot of fun with it. It's like a weird creative part of my brain that I don't get to use that often, of just like, how do color go? And I had a lot of fun with it. And you're watching this video, so you're gonna hear me talk about it. And I think I mentioned this before, but you will see here more than once, there is the one downside to the system that if one thing gets off for whatever reason, like if you run out of one, or in this case, when I change my mind about one of the swatches, it kind of affects everything else. So you're gonna see a couple times I go in and I wanna shift something, so then I have to shift a bunch of things. And maybe that would be really annoying, and sometimes it is a little annoying from when I've had this system before, but this is kind of soothing for me. It's the kind of thing I like doing and maybe find soothing to watch, so maybe we can both win. but you will see, especially at the very end, I was like, oh, perfect, I'm so close, I'm almost done, we've almost got it. And then I realized I had like miscounted and I had one open slot in the middle, so I had to shift them all over one. But it happens, you know, it's all good, and I'm very happy with the results. There are also, you can probably see right now, some examples of where the like glitters or just non-plain creme polishes don't like quite fit. But honestly, I'm pretty happy with the overall look. And I think a lot of it is, I wanted it to be pretty, but a lot of it is like function. So if I'm thinking of something or like I want a certain color, I can sort of go to that section, kind of see them all together, and it'll still function as well as I wanted it to. But we're pretty much at the final order now. I'm just putting a few more in place and then shifting them so they're all neat. And you will see in a second, I finally got my final count. I hadn't counted all the bottles just yet, but we have 183 colored polishes, so a lot. But it didn't even fill up the whole swatch book, which I think that means I have room to get more. As one final step, I've found having a book like this in the past, even though the swatches do fit pretty well, sometimes when you close the book or if you jostle it around while you're moving it or anything like that, they can fall out, and sometimes that can mess everything up if you can't figure out where the swatch is supposed to be. So I just went in with a quick extra step of using this like white tack stuff to lock them in. It's really easy to remove, like if you pull on the swatches they still come out, so it still has that flexibility I like, but it does give them enough hold to not fall out on their own. And then I just went through real quick and wiped everything down with some isopropyl alcohol just to get fingerprints off the swatches and get rid of any dust. As you can see, I'm doing this on the floor, so got that all locked in. Speaking of cleaning, I also took this opportunity to reorganize all my other supplies, starting with this just like plastic bin I have for fake nails and tips and nail art supplies. Like I've got vinyls and decals, and then a couple things like acetone and isopropyl alcohol, stuff like that, just other nail things. And then I also went through the storage on the side of the plastic containers that you might have seen. Starting here, we have this one I haven't shown yet actually. This has my top and base coats on one side and builders and polygel on the other, if you thought you hadn't seen enough gel bottles today. But these side slots are where I keep things like glass vials and brushes and loose glitter and some like stamping stuff. But I just went through and tidied those up and put away some stuff that was out. I also did my best to clean up any gel that might have spilled on the sides of the container. I'm really trying to make a resolution to be better about keeping the sides and the necks of the gel bottles clean. But as you may notice, that is currently an area that needs improvement at this time, so pay no attention. There was also some spilled glitter, for which I fully had to go in with a hand vac. That's a IYKYK moment. I think maybe a project in the near future will be finding a slightly better storage solution for some of my non-gel bottle type nail supplies, because it's functional the way it is, but I think it could be more efficient or whatever I might want it to be. But on that note, we are pretty much finishing up here. We will end with a nice little glamour shot of the finished swatch book. I'm pretty darn happy with the overall look of the final order, and it's also functional. I think even since filming this, I've already found it really useful and better than what I had before for helping me find the colors I want when I want them, which that's the whole point of this, so we'll call that a success. So that is what I have for you on this fine day. So thank you so much for watching. Reminder that you can already see here, I'm starting the journey of swatching these polishes on my real hands, and I'll be doing that over on Instagram and TikTok. Again, I'm just at Red Nails Never Fail. I'll also have those links in the description. While we're shamelessly plugging, you can also subscribe to me on here and like this video if you enjoyed it. Maybe in the comments you can tell me how you organize your nail polish, your gel polish. And since I'm trying to get back into posting more regularly, let me know what else you want to see. And with that, I will sign off. Bye!